At the heart of all of this is the idea that the youth are losing our time. They're losing our time. We keep on shifting programs and shifting age bracket. And you go to universities and you find professors tell students that you are not going to graduate from this particular program because of this and this and this and this, because you offended me here, because you said this to me here, because you did that to me there. And one begins to ask himself, from where with all of these issues, and how are we going to solve these current dilemmas we get to find ourselves in? Hello, everyone. My name is Biringkpa, and today I want us to talk about the times the youth get to waste in a country like Nigeria and what ordinarily we are not really looking at and what we should be looking at a time like this. A few years ago, I ordinarily would not be thinking of myself as one gradually fizzling out of that category considered the youth. Not the typical youth who is at 35 still considering himself a young person in a place like Nigeria. No. I'm talking about the normal range at which someone ordinarily should be considering himself a youth. That should be between anything from 18 to, let's say, 30. And I know in Nigeria it goes as far as 40, sometimes even 45, and you're still considered a youth. And the list goes on and on. But my concern here is for those between the age bracket of 15 to about 25. And I am not in this age bracket, I am older than that. But what leaves me concerned here is the period of time that ordinarily takes before you ordinarily come to realize that you aren't within this age bracket. But the concern down here is the concern that is born out of how time flies and how things ordinarily go on and how you barely come to achieve almost anything save for living and save for getting your level of peace and a couple of things that come down there if you even come to have peace in your life. And why do I say so? I say so because I look around and I see many persons talk about political careers when they turn 40, 50, 60, sometimes 70, and it begins to look as if that is how ordinarily it should go. That you should ordinarily be in your retirement age before you want to venture into politics, or if you dare to venture as a young person, you are being told to go as low as trying to see if you can become the ward secretary to your political party or to a particular political party before you begin to aspire, and so that at the point whereby you become a president, you're already almost old, or if you ever even get the chance to get down there. These are some big issues. Let's calm down. Let's come down to the very basic of things. Things like computers, things like desktops, things like microphones to ordinarily work on your solo album if you ordinarily are inclined towards music or podcasting and stuff like that. The acquisition of a thing like a camera or growing up with stuffs like that, they come into the realization that you can ordinarily ride a bicycle if you ordinarily want to ride a bicycle, as opposed to that being hinged on the idea that parents use that to champion their children's sense of education and get to promise them bicycles that sometimes never get given to the children as gifts for them outperforming themselves, just to ordinarily come to that particular realization, or the basic things that people ordinarily should be getting in the 21st century. And I say this from a serious point of lamentation, and I say this with all manner of seriousness. I speak to the youth today, I speak to adults, I speak to those indifferent to these issues, to those who still look at our political class and look at the economy of our country and still tend to tell ourselves that we are doing well. I beg to differ. We are not doing well. We might seem to be doing well in combat where every other person is lazy, but pick up that particular situation and install it in a different environment, and then you come to understand really that we aren't really doing well as it concerns where we are in the 21st century. You want to move to agriculture and you get to see other things happening down there. But at the heart of all of this is the idea that the youth are losing out time. They're losing out time. We keep on shifting programs and shifting age bracket. And you go to universities and you find professors tell students that you are not going to graduate from this particular program because of this and this and this and this, because you offended me here, because you said this to me here, because you did that to me there. And one begins to ask himself, from where to where with all of these issues, and how are we going to solve these current dilemmas we get to find ourselves in? It is simple. The environment has not necessarily been made for people to thrive. But if I just say that and I keep quiet, that would just be not the truth of the whole matter. Because our ancestors, by ancestors here also I mean our fathers, struggled and struggled within different times and in different situations, and they were still able to make sense of their life. I know you want to tell me about evolution. I know you want to tell me about how things ordinarily were in the 50s, in the 40s, in the 30s, and how things and times have changed. But also, with the changing of time comes the idea of responsibility, and the idea of responsibility is a thing we ordinarily should be looking out for now into the future. And to a large extent, we as a people have not been doing that to the best of my understanding, to the best of my knowledge. And why I say so is for reasons not too far fetched. Our youths need to do better. They need to challenge themselves, and they need to come to the realization that the oppressed will not give them power. And they need to start looking at themselves as people full of possibilities and potentialities that ordinarily ought to be actualized, but still would continue to remain in potency as long as their sense of actuality and their sense of confidence within themselves ordinarily would not tend to grow. Which brings me to the idea of money, to the idea of wanting quick funds, to the idea of wanting to make it hard, to make it strong, to make it out of the street so fast, without coming to know the basics that ordinarily guides life, the basic things that ordinarily see to it that one gets to live a better life. And so the myth of money continues to be a thing championed here and there. And you see it in our musics. You see it in our music. You see it in the songs we listen to. You see it in the movies we get to watch. You see it in the skits. You see it in the streets. You see it on the streets. You see it in the different bars we get to sit, and in the different television series we ordinarily get to look at. You see it in our films, and you see children being told not to be children. You see children carrying adult responsibilities. And you see these things and they leave you wondering and asking the questions, from where to where to where? For how long are we going to continue like this as young Nigerians, telling ourselves these things our parents were told? They are the leaders of tomorrow. They are the leaders of tomorrow. And for how long are we going to see ourselves as people not worthy of ordinarily getting the benefits that should be allocated to us within the range of our lifetime? How long do we want to continue going on this track, going on this path, as if life and all there is to life is in and about getting old and being hungry and being sad and paying bills? Is this in and about what my life ought to be about? Is this in and about what your life should be about? I don't think so. I don't think your life should be squared and looked at and judged from the perspective of you just wanting to pay bills and pay bills and pay bills and pay bills and pay bills. And if you don't know how to pay bills, or if you don't have the means of paying bills, you ordinarily should go about suffering and lamenting, and it cannot continue like that. And why do I say so? Because we suffer this together. When one suffers, the other suffers. When the other suffers, the other person suffers, and it rubs on everybody. It rubs on the relatives of the rich as well as the caliber of friends they get to keep. It rubs on them losing the sense of, this sense of real friendship because they feel like everybody who gets to dial their number is in and about wanting funds from them. And not just that, it goes also to talk about the prospect of we being denied the chance and the possibilities of ordinarily coming to exploring our God given talents and our God given brains. And I say this with all manner of sadness and anger in my soul, though I try to keep a normal tempo and I try to keep a normal pitch. I'm a very, very angry person as it concerns the situations that is our current problems in a place like Nigeria. And a simple example would be the life of someone like Ben Carson. It took books made available in the public library for such a genius to be gotten out and to be brought out to the world to ordinarily get to see. It takes a community library like that to ordinarily get to change things. And you see someone like the author of Motion, Agenta Story, Langdong, someone I get to respect so much. You see what he does and how he goes about his life and how things ordinarily got changed for him and how life ordinarily got transformed for him and how his life changed because of books. And he has given his life to telling that particular story, the idea of ideas and how ideas ordinarily change the world and how ideas indeed have come to change his life and how ideas continue to change his life. You see Malcolm X, on the other hand, going to prison and then coming to meet books and coming to experience books in a different way as never before. You see in and about these things and you begin to ask yourself, why is it that we live in a time and in a place like Nigeria where even up until 5 years to come, without falling into the fallacy of hasty generalization, we would not come to have libraries in every communities we get to find ourselves, and every community is in a place like Nigeria. I know you want to talk about it not being our culture. I know you want to tell me about the fact that it was not the way we ordinarily did things, and that's not how the way things ordinarily should be done, and how things ordinarily shouldn't be done, and how we shouldn't try to copy the white man and stuff like that, and the westerner and the people across the global north and all that, and we in the global south must try to retain our culture and our traditions and all of that. But have you looked at the power that is in books? Have you looked at the strength that can come from surrounding yourselves with books, the likes of Chimamanda's, Popo Hibiscus, and the different stories she's come out there to churn, and the different literature that is her life. Books the likes of Chinua Achebe's There Was a Country, Things Fall Apart, and the different conversations that ordinarily can go down there. Have you looked at the poetry of Christopher Okibo? When was the last time you, as an adult, even had the chance to come to see these books and be spared the economic hardship to ordinarily want to buy these books? I say all of this so that you come to understand how disenfranchised we are and how our youths are being deprived of their youthful age, and we as adults are ordinarily still deprived of the sense of adulthood we ordinarily should be living at the moment. And why do I say this? I say this for many reasons. One of the reasons, again, that can easily be pulled out is that the likes of you would ordinarily continue to live in penury because there will be no chance for you to move on. Your youthful age has been stolen away from you. It has been wasted in things you ordinarily don't want to believe and accept that it has been wasted, but it has been wasted nonetheless. And now your future is ordinarily still being wasted, and your current situation is ordinarily not the best. And what we should be doing is we should be looking at the possibilities that can come out of our lives and why those possibilities don't exist at the moment, and what we ordinarily should do and how we ordinarily should lead our life and how we ordinarily must go if we must come to make sense of our existence, our lives now into the future. Things sometimes we, not sometimes, things we almost all the times don't want to tell ourselves are the problems of the country. Things we ordinarily don't want to admit and tell ourselves that, you know what, we have been given a false promise, the false promise of youth. And so we cannot, as youth, compete with our counterparts across the global north, across just within our country, and we don't even get the basics. And I started by talking about things like iPads. iPads are like big deals for adults, even in our space. Phones are big deals within our space. Our girls get to go through the most horrendous of activities to ordinarily come to match up and stay in that particular class. Not to say those who ordinarily work hard for their money ordinarily can't just get to afford these things, but at what cost? What is the opportunity cost they have to forego to ordinarily come to afford an iPhone 14 and iPhone 15? What is the minimum wage like? What is the housing cost like? What is the transportation systems like? What are we doing to see to it that we better our lives? And what are the things we have failed to do? What are the myths we continue to tell ourselves that are the things that continue to keep us down? The white man, colonialism, and all that. That's true to a large extent. But students studying history, what have they done to ordinarily unearth the situations? It took many, as long as the current conversation on Tucker Carlson's show, to get to know that the West ordinarily were the ones that perpetrated the killing of Gaddafi and the real reason why he was killed. Of course, we should know of this hegemony and we should know of what the West ordinarily is in and out for Africa. And yet we continue to tell ourselves that, the West does this, the West does that, the West is keeping us enslaved, the West is keeping us where they're keeping us. And yet, for whatever reason, we've just come to accept this bullshit without even wanting to verify our conspiracy theories, without even wanting to come to look at ways in which we can solve our problems and solve our problems for good now into the future. We keep quiet. We sit down there. We look at ourselves day in, day out, day in, day out. We tell ourselves, what can I do? Let us pray to God. Let us pray to God. Let us pray to God. Our problems will be solved. But the youthfulness in our lives have all been stolen. And for those that have not been stolen, they are already been stolen. I have sisters who already are approaching the first quarter of their lives. I have a brother who has already crossed the threshold of 25 years, and he's asking himself, where is my spot and my place in Nigeria? What is Nigeria to me? The same questions you and I asked ourselves, and the same questions we've refused to admit the answers our souls and our bodies are getting to tell us about what ordinarily should be done and how ordinarily we should lead our lives and how we must go. We've been deceived, we've been lied to, we've had our dreams shattered. What are we telling the younger generation? Are we just wanting, or do we just want to allow them ordinarily also to come to experience the same things we ordinarily experience without telling them the ways in which their life ordinarily should go and the direction they should be taking? Is that what we want to do? We want to tell them, it's all going to be fine, In the long run, Nigeria, everybody, adulthood will touch everybody. Adulthood. What you call adulthood, is that what we should be talking about? Suffering, pain, confusion, unemployment, insecurity, from food to health to the different sectors that one get to be insecure about. Not getting admissions to universities that have fewer slots for the amount of people we have in the country. Needing a letter from a senator to a minister to whoever you want to get a job. federal catchment area and all those conversations we get to have in times like this. For how long are we going to continue telling ourselves this story, and what must happen to us to get to see that we change our minds and change our views and come to look at life from the perspective we ordinarily have failed at the moment to look at life from? The perspective that says, everybody should be given a fair chance to ordinarily explore their potentiality and come to see how we bridge the inequality gaps that comes from the disparity of the levels of our gifts, which in the long run will come to bring about the synergy or the complementarity of one to the other. The idea of where one lacks, let the other complement, let the other supplement. For how long are we going to go like this? The innovative sector, the sense of we coming to understand what a thing like technology and how it ordinarily should go. At what age do people get into master's programs in Nigeria? At what age do they run and finish their bachelors? And how many dream of becoming doctors, and how many dream of purchasing forms or making applications that see to it that they become PhD students and run through the long scale of their PhD program for 4 years, 3 years, 6 years, as the case may be, and come out well? How many? Do you know? Tell me. If you know, tell me. It will leave you in shock, and it will leave you in surprise as to how things have gone south and wrong. What about your salary? What can you do with your salary? What can you do with your salary? What can you do with your salary? I wrote something the other day about what I just came to think and feel about the average Nigerian, and not just the average Nigerian, the honest Nigerian for that matter. And it's something that leaves me troubled as to the number of friends I have within a place like Nigeria, and how ordinarily things get to go, and how things ordinarily shouldn't go, and what we must do. It's a short piece, and I titled it Honest Nigerians. Honest Nigerians, how do they survive? How do they cope? How do they live? How do they lead their lives? It must be hard. It must be very difficult. It is almost impossible to do, almost impossible to imagine. An honest Nigerian from cradle to the grave. The system comes after you. It comes calling your name. It brings a lot for you to see, feel, and hold, to keep and be reminded of what awaits you. Should you try being honest? Should you try being good? Should you try going your own road, less traveled? The question remains, how do honest Nigerians survive? In fact, how do Nigerians survive? It's a question your brother is asking you. How do you survive if you're an honest Nigerian living in Nigeria within the circumference of what is your income, or what is the earnings you get to make at the end of the month, or at the end of the week, or at the end of the year? How do you survive the country without breaking? If you know, please let me know. If you know how you survive the country, please let me know. Let us have these conversations and see how we are breaking our youth, and how we are depriving them of a lot of things we don't even want to remind ourselves about. The ways in which children watch their parents die, the ways in which we get to die, the ways in which we get to shrink, and the ways in which we get to succumb to the daily realities of life, and how we ordinarily seem to just live life and watch ourselves die and go the separate ways and the different ways in which we come to go. I am not here to sugarcoat words. I am not here to tell you all the nice things you ordinarily want to hear me say. I am not here to tell you all of this. I am here to call your attention to something very serious. And what is that? The idea that we at the moment have betrayed ourselves irretrievably. We at the moment have come to fail ourselves. We at the moment are doing ourselves disfavors that ordinarily don't meet the 21st century, and we must begin to ask questions and ask credible questions. Elections are coming next year, campaigns are going to start from different states. We're going to be seeing different persons come out to say different things to us. Don't expect the savior to come to save the country. If you don't have a voter's card, I want you to listen to David Odiase. At Two-Face Day 1000, but no be Dibia own. That time don't come to make our feelings known. Dirty slap, no the stained face, but the pain the enter bone. To defeat Goliath, David must first pick stone. Your PVC and your particulars to vote come out. Cause flood where go enter house, they first start from domot. Bad leader where they power. Now good people when no vote put them for there. When you know be 3310, why you go say you no care? I have David's poem and performance by heart. It means a lot to me. David Odiase is a poet I listen to a lot. I follow his journey. He's doing and making exploit down here in Europe, in Germany, and he's setting the stage for himself, and he has come to achieve a whole lot in so short a time, though not short for a Nigerian youth, not short for a Nigerian adult, not short for a Nigerian creative who necessarily has to leave his clan and place to ordinarily come to make sense of his life. I'm proud of him. I'm proud of everything he does. I'm proud of the works he has put out there. I'm proud of the stuff he's doing for himself. Check his works out. Follow him. Follow him. Look at that conversation. Now, Two-Face Day 1000. But no be Dibia own. That time don't come to make our feelings known. Dirty slap, not the stained face, but the pain the enter bone. What does this mean? We go about smiling and we go about looking as if everything is fine. We smile, they slap at us, we smile, the politicians keep slapping at us. Since it doesn't show on our face, we smile and we put up nice clothes. Oh, Wambe, we do the different gyrations and celebrations. We smile and suffer. We smile and suffer. We smile and suffer. And here David is calling us and calling our attentions to the things we ordinarily don't want to see, to the things we ordinarily don't want to be told. And those things are the things we must be looking at. Because flood where go enter house, they first start from domot. Flood where go enter house, they first start from domot. And we have been seeing the flood coming for the longest period of time. We have been seeing the mess being shoved down our throat and being pushed down into our systems, and we keep on telling ourselves that it's all going to be fine. That flood will come in and meet us, and it will cancel us, and it will quench us, and it will extinguish the light if we even have any left within us. These and many more are the things we ordinarily ought to be looking at, and we fail to look at them. We fail to look at them. And we tell ourselves, I am non-partisan. I don't care about PVC. I don't care about voting. I don't care about this. I don't care about that. But all of these get to count one way or the other. All of these get to make sense when we begin to look at them squarely for what they are and for how they ordinarily ought to be and what we shouldn't be looking at. Because tell me how your vote don't count and yet they depend on people to come out to ordinarily win elections. Make rigging impossible. Make the margin so wild that people cannot just even dream and think about the idea of them wanting to rig elections. Make it impossible for them to rig the election so easily. Give them a tough fight. You also don't go about being the ones who also end up stealing the ballot boxes. Because you are stealing your future and you are stealing the possibility of you living a normal life. You are living almost within the realms that you cannot even imagine. I want you to imagine and think about what Europe did with whatever proceeds and from wherever they got it, whether stolen or not, whether by way of their own ingenuity or not, whether stolen from different empires and all that. But imagine what these guys did, drilling railway tracks that runs through rivers, metros that burrow deep into the ground, interconnected and scattered across different parts of the city, and have been in existence for generations, have been in existence for hundreds of years. Tell yourself, those so-called guys we call Mr. Projects and this and this and this are a joke. That you are calling Dave Omayi Mr. Project, or you are calling Wike Mr. Project, or you are calling you are calling Hope Uzodinma Mr. Project, is a thing unimaginable and unthinkable for anybody to even be thinking about in the 21st century. What did they do? What was the aesthetic pleasures and aesthetic givings of the likes of David Umahi? What did Hope Uzodinma do? Or what is he doing? You see, solution is here everywhere. Beyond paints and beyond the coloration of black and white we get to see on the pavement that leads through our cities and through Anambra, how far and how fast can those projects go? Beyond we singing the praise of Governor Sanwo-Olu, what have they really done that deserve to be praised to the level in which we get to praise them? And this is not you coming to tell me, oh, you, what have you done? Oh, you, what did your governor do? Dave Umahi was my governor for 8 years. He was the deputy governor under Lechi for 8 years. So he was in power for 16 years and then moved on now and he's become the Minister for Works. And I want to ask you, the guarantees and the roads they get to talk about, how far can these roads go? We do these things and the level of mediocrity we get to see within our sphere and within our lives leave me with so much to say, and sometimes I don't even know how to start because it is so depressing, to say the least, my brothers and sisters. It is so depressing to get to watch us do the things we get to do and tell ourselves that everything is fine and everybody should just go about living their life the way they get to live their life. And you might think I have been talking too much, but your youthful years have been taken away from you. The youths need to stand up. The youths must rise. The youths must stand up tall and strong, because bad leader where the office. Now good people when no vote put them for there. And like David will sarcastically say, when you know be 3310, why you go say you know care? Nokia 3310. Why you go say you know care? And when this particular episode, David reminds us still that these streets fit take scapegoat, do pepper soup. No be today. I am Biringkpa bin Emeka. I'm your brother, strolling this world with you. See you next time.